thanks for inviting me to speak today. And also my congratulations to LeVar Thomas and Ruby Maddox, the co-founders of Leaders of the Free World. Really important initiative. So I applaud that. I'm really delighted today to speak to an audience interested in careers in global affairs. And so let me just start off by observing something that we all are well aware of. What's the breaking news of the day that has been for months now, years? And that's the ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza. But one day, in the not too distant future, there'll be major reconstruction programs for these devastated countries. And someone on this call today will participate in these global efforts to restore infrastructure and rebuild the communities and ideally offer a better future to the families and children of those nations. I recall my days as a young man just a few years ago when I made the decision to join the Peace Corps and serve as a volunteer in the Dominican Republic as a teacher trainer in the rural areas. It was a heck of a leap for me, a big leap, from a working class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago to this new world of international affairs, a foreign culture, a new language, Spanish, and on my own as a teacher trainer in a small town in the DR. This first step led me to a career in global affairs and working for some 30 years in 3 sectors as a corporate executive, a foreign service officer with the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, as a leader in a global nonprofit organization, and eventually serving in the Obama-Biden administration as director of the Peace Corps, full circle with the Peace Corps. So I want to encourage you to consider a career in global affairs, or those of you who have already engaged in how to build your career, whether it be in government or business or the nonprofit world. Because quite frankly, we need you. You represent the rich diversity of America, and we need your talent to take on the global challenges that we face. Global warming, conflicts on every continent, future pandemics, and the complicated future of AI. So why did I choose to be here with you today? Well, in this phase of my life, my so-called retirement, my wife would probably disagree with that, my primary work is to encourage young people of color to consider taking a bold step forward, make the decision to be a global leader. I want to provide young aspiring leaders like you a roadmap for the journey ahead. So I wrote 2 books. The first, a memoir of my life and career as a global executive. But most importantly for this conversation, a second book with 2 amazing co-authors, Jennifer Brinkerhoff and Taylor Jack. And the book is titled Young Black Leaders' Guide to Successful Careers in International Affairs. But the secondary title is most important, What the Giants Want You to Know. Because in this book, we offer the wisdom of a generation of African-American foreign policy experts as a gift to the next generation and those to come. It's a guide about how to plan, manage, and be successful in an international affairs career. These many unsung, unknown giants featured in the book want the next generation to climb onto their shoulders and reach the top. So who are these 15 unsung, probably unknown in many cases, amazing, accomplished leaders? It includes our current U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, the distinguished Linda Thomas Greenfield, a veteran diplomat and member of the Biden cabinet. The president of Spelman College, Dr. Helene Gayle, who's a legendary health expert and international development leader. The former chief executive of Disney Resorts, Ed Greer. It also includes a 3-star U.S. Army General, Barry Price, a battle-tested veteran in Iraq and Afghanistan, who now leads the largest anti-drug coalition in America. And the book also reflects on the experiences and success of American heroes such as General Colin Powell and Ambassador Susan Rice. I have had the privilege of working with most of these leaders, and their personal stories are in this book. They generously gave us the inside stories on their climb to the top, the blood, sweat, and tears they endured, most of them from modest backgrounds. Not in any way were they supposed to be destined for greatness. These giants hope you will find clarity about whether or not you have or may develop a passion for international affairs, for other cultures, languages, and cross-national policy engagement. And I think you'll find the guidance and support you need to make a go of an extraordinary career. We did it through a multi-generational dialogue with talented young professionals talking to the giants. all young professionals who are in the business of development and international affairs. So we have, number one, the experience of individual giants who blazed the trail in U.S. foreign policy and international affairs. And then we looked at the needs of young Black Americans. We asked trailblazers to reflect how they navigated these challenges to reach their great achievements and what you, the next generation, want and need to know. So, of course, when we talk about U.S. foreign policy, we often think about service in the federal government, the State Department, USAID, the Defense Department, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, the Foreign and Commercial Service, and the Foreign Agricultural Service, among others. And of course, as I'm sure this audience is well aware, U.S. foreign policy is also executed by a range of private and nonprofit organizations, such as the extraordinary work being done by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Public Health, or the Carter Center in promoting democracy and governance, just two great stellar examples. So let me now turn to some specific career tips for navigating this complex world of international affairs. First of all, first element is obviously do the work. We all talk about doing the work, being a hard worker, and being an expert at what you do. The second element is risk. You need to be able to have a stomach for and an ability to take on risk. And thirdly, you need to be resilient. You've got to bounce back from adversity. The next element is building networks. You have to have internal and external networks in order to provide mentors, sponsors, and people to be on the teams that you will lead. And then the last thing I always like to talk about is something that is kind of often not discussed in the American context, and that is failure. Nobody wants to fail, but you need to learn how to embrace failure because it can be a great tool for learning and building. So let's talk a little bit about the work. So first of all, you have to commit to doing the work. As you move up the ladder, you have to be seen as an expert, someone who people want to put on committees, on projects, someone they want to promote. You have to stand out in the face of anticipated skepticism because when you walk into the room, immediately a certain instant analysis occurs. You have to be prepared to confront that analysis. That's the challenge in America. We're hoping to build a better country, but we're not there yet. So be an expert. Know how the system operates in your organization and in the country where you might be working. You know, Ambassador Johnny Carson, who is the former Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, always said, and he talks about this in the book, he was determined to be the most knowledgeable person on Africa in any room that he went into. Not East Africa, not West Africa, but all of Africa. Next, you need to build that network. The network needs to be inside and outside. You need to have a sounding board. You need to have people you can turn to in confidence to provide wisdom and inspiration for you as you move forward. I always made it a point personally to build both my internal and external networks of mentors and colleagues. And I've been honored that many of these people have worked for me in 3 different places. I've always tried to be grateful and also, very importantly, be worthy of their support. Risk. We all have to raise our hand and assume risk. You want to minimize risk, but in the foreign policy arena, you have to be a risk taker. Raise your hand, be a volunteer. It'll pay off because often you can shape the agenda, the approach, and in most cases, build your own team. I remember General Barry Price said as a young captain, he confronted a general over what he saw as a major problem in a training exercise. That led to a promotion because it turns out that what he said out loud, the whole unit was thinking, but were afraid of raising this issue up the chain of command. Turns out that this was precisely the type of leadership the Army was looking for in this situation. And then be resilient. No matter what the challenge is, be resilient. You have to stay the course, push through, and fight in this complex area that we work in. Our distinguished UN Ambassador, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, often says that adversity is a source of strength. Every single time you are tested, she says, you flex your adversity muscles and you grow stronger. I think one thing that's often important to remember about the giants, they did not start out with all the wisdom that they provide to you in this book. They learned it through direct experience and building relationships with the support from many others, and they worked hard. They maintained their personal lives, and they also, and don't forget this, they use humor to get ahead. So let me close by saying this, that the 21st century is yours. The obstacle that you have most control over is yourself. The giants encourage you to be courageous. They want you to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Embrace those moments of challenging and fear in order to grow learn, and become more impactful. My generation, the baby boomers, took the baton from the World War II generation, the greatest generation. And we're looking to you, this next generation, to take on this leadership role. We're passing the torch to you. Your time is now, and I hope you embrace it. Thank you, and I look forward to observing your career journey.
Thank you so much, Director Williams. We appreciate your words of encouragement and wisdom, and we acknowledge the transition. We are ready to take the torch and pass the torch on to the future generation.
I know you are, James, and thank you for inviting me today. It's been a great pleasure, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Bye now.
All right. LeVar, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, James, and thank you again, Director Williams. That was truly inspirational, and we are, fortunate and blessed to have you be a part of this event and to share your knowledge and expertise on how to navigate the global leadership landscape. So I know many of us will take your tips and understanding how to leverage failure to get to the next level in our international careers. So at this point of the program,